Right. Well, I think we should probably start. It's just gone 1 o'clock in the UK. And I'd like to say welcome everyone to the 19th, doesn't time fly, the 19th annual general meeting of the Guidelines International Network, being held online like many of our meetings these days. But it is great actually for an international network because it means that many people can join. And although it can be a bit of a challenge in terms of time zones, it is very, very accessible. So today, I don't think we have any apologies. So I'm going to pick up on the agenda, the next piece, which is matters arising from the last AGM, and turn to the Chief Exec, Elaine, and ask if there's anything that we need to pick up.
There are no matters arising from the minutes of the last meeting. Thank you, Jill.
Okay. And if you could just move back a slide for a moment, Alice. Just to let everyone see, this is what we're going to cover. In a moment, I'm going to do my report on the previous year's activities, and then we'll hear from Elaine with some online voting, finances, the presentation of the Najib Milka Award, the recognition of long-term members, launch of the GIN Public Toolkit, and then moving ahead to next year. So there's quite a few bits to cover. So I will kick off with reflections on the years gone by. So if you can move the slides on. And in terms of the last year's activity, I'm really pleased to be talking about all the work that's been going on. It's been a really interesting period during the pandemic. And of course, it is my last year as chair of GIN. I've really enjoyed it, and I shall be handing over to Zach partway through this meeting. But now I just want to pick up some of the highlights of the previous year, and not surprisingly, starting with things that relate to the pandemic. So about a year ago, we were in the earlier days, weren't we, of the pandemic, and not really knowing how long it was going to last or what was going to happen next. And GIN very much stepped up to the plate and ran a series of topical webinars which were free to access and were very well received. We worked with partners to curate and share resources around COVID-19 guidance, because clearly that was a priority for all our healthcare systems. That was all positive. Not surprisingly, we didn't go ahead with a face-to-face meeting last year for the GIN 2020 conference. However, there were alternatives, online alternatives, which were really well received. We had what was called a pit stop in the COVID-19 marathon for the guideline community, with almost 1,000 attendees from over 24 locations. And that was brilliant engagement. And as I said at the beginning, when I was welcoming people, this virtual world that many of us have now been inhabiting in our day jobs is great for international work. And the other postponement last year was the Global Evidence Summit 2, which was going to be taking place in Prague. And inevitably, that too has been postponed, now rescheduled to 2023, when we must all be hoping that life will be back to normal. So the next slide is to highlight an event that happened through GIN North America. They ran a virtual conference and an open space event in conjunction with the New York Academy of Medicine. It was really successful. It ran in March this year with over 100 attendees, with some fantastic feedback. It was inspirational and constructive. And particular thanks to Gerardo Abramin, have I said your name right? Apologies if I haven't. Abrahamian, and Mary Nix from GIN North America, and Peter Wire from the New York Academy of Medicine for organizing. And just to say that GIN is always happy to support this type of event. It very much is what GIN is always about. Collaboration and virtual conferences are brilliant, so always open to suggestions. And the next slide. Moving from North America to ANZ, Australia and New Zealand, some webinars have also been held there. The First Nations-led development supporting prevention and management of COVID-19 in primary healthcare. That was run in November last year, and an event earlier this year, Guideline and Impact, the Art of Storytelling. And these webinars, I'm pleased to say, are available on GIN's YouTube channel. So if you didn't manage to see them at the time, they are there, and do take a look. Last year saw the Evidence-Based Healthcare Day, From Evidence to Impact. It was on the 20th of October last year. And GIN partnered with JBI, the Joanna Briggs Institute, as well as with Cochrane, the Campbell Collaboration, the Institute for Evidence-Based Healthcare, Africa Evidence Network, NICE, and the American College of Physicians to deliver the first World Evidence Healthcare Day. And really, really important and good timing in a way last year, although sadly good timing, but the pandemic did shine a spotlight on the need for evidence. It shone a spotlight on the need for guidelines. So that was really important for us to celebrate, to emphasize why evidence matters. And of course, the international collaboration last year was fantastic. And evidence-based healthcare is also on the next slide, I think. Here you've got a snapshot of some of the things from last year. It tells you the number of page views, fantastic numbers there, 35 impact stories, 22 virtual events, over 20,000 social media interactions, and with the work going on in 13 different languages. I won't read all of that, you can see it yourself. However, there is going to be a second evidence-based healthcare day this year, and you'll hear more about that later in today's presentation. And next slide. I just wanted to highlight the international collaboration that's been going on around the COVID-19 recommendations map project, and GIN has been proud to be involved with this in the past year. And I know that many of you are already involved with this project and you'll be very familiar with it. But if you aren't, please do take a look at the website, which is being updated weekly. And there are now over 3,700 recommendations on this map. So it's very useful and very valuable. And also to note, we don't have a slide on it, but we have also been collaborating with the COVID End project as well. So moving from all the work that happened because of the pandemic, which of course wasn't planned at all, was it? But a fantastic amount of stuff happened, and it was great to see people working together on that agenda. Bits of work that were planned related to digital transformation to improve the resources available through GIN to its members. About a year ago, we launched an updated guidelines library, and many thanks to Sarah Twaddle, who many of you will know, who led the library project. We launched this at last year's AGM along with the GIN rebrand. We have set up a user forum, or we are setting up a user forum, and we need some more volunteers. So please do step up, put your virtual hand up if you'd like to get involved. And there's a library guide and various specific user guides on the website. Also want to flag up GIN Connect, which was launched in November last year. We've now got around 700 members signed up to this, and it very much facilitates engagement between GIN members, and you can use it for all types of communications: voting, registering for webinars, advertising, and all working groups and regional communities have a discussion board so that they can have their own specific communications with their participants. And there's a repository for files so that you can share share documents. We can share documents with members. So if you aren't one of the 700 members that have signed up for that, then please do, because it really does facilitate collaboration. A bit more on the digital transformation journey. After last year's rebrand, we launched the new website back in April, and I hope you like it. Very keen to get feedback, so do tell us what you like, what you don't like. And the aim in doing the work on the website is to make it more externally focused. Coming up shortly will be our online conference for this year. We're going to use an innovative event platform, which I'm confident is going to give you a great experience. It will allow audience interaction, it will allow social events, we'll be able to look at posters, and it should be great fun. Obviously not quite the same as all being together in a physical location, but needs must. And I think Elaine and the team have done a great job in pulling together the platform for the event, and thanks to everyone else that's been involved in the various committees, sifting abstracts, etc., to make this a really good conference. Moving on, InGuide, the InGuide training program. You've heard about this previously. I've talked about it at previous AGMs, and you'll probably remember that this is a partnership between GIN and McMaster in Canada to deliver an InGuide training program for those people involved in developing guidelines, as perhaps methodologists or chairs or members of guideline panels. It is one of our strategic priorities. There are 4 levels in the training program, and level 1 was launched in September last year. Level 2 has been launched this September, and it's now running as a pre-conference course, and we're open for registrations. So if you'd like to do level 2, you do need to have already completed level 1, but do take a look and see if you can join that. Level 3, we're hoping will launch in November, and level 4 is due to launch next year. If you want more information about what that covers, and of course there's details on the GIN website, or do ask any one of the GIN board members. And then the final slide highlights a bit more about level 2. Were you going to show the next slide? I noticed that a poll has come up, so I'm not sure I'm supposed to be moving on, but important here that there's a poll which is to ask whether or not you have registered for the InGuide program, yes or no, and if not, why not? Really keen to get that feedback, because of course we're keen to make sure that InGuide is successful. But if it isn't something that you felt is appropriate, we'd like to know why, and then we can look at with McMaster whether there's anything more that might be done to make it easier to access. So that poll has now disappeared, and I think I'm going to hand over to Elaine in a moment to get the results of that poll. And this is just a reminder about what level 2 covers. And here are the results. Elaine, am I right in that you're going to talk to this, and I'm now about to hand over to you?
I can do. Yeah, that's absolutely fine. Thank you, Jill.
Okay, thank you very much.
Okay, so the results of the poll is that 16% have registered for the InGuide programme, 84% not yet. And the reasons are time constraints, 52%. So that's 13 out of 25 people, just to give you an idea of the numbers. The cost is too high, 24% have said that, and that's 6 people out of 25. 3 out of 25 have said it's not consistent with their organisation's process of developing guidelines. And another 3, I'm not a guideline developer. Very good reason. So thank you all for participating in that. So if you can move the Slides on. Thank you, Alice. So thank you very much, Jill. And before I share the results of the formal voting for the trustees and the AGM business, I would like first of all to pay tribute to the trustees who have served on the GIN board through this past year and more. I think they're all familiar to you, but Alice, if you could pop their names up on the screen, thank you. Just to remind you who our trustees have been for the past year. I think each and every one of you understands how the world has changed in this past much more than a year, 18 months, almost 2 years now, and what that has meant to individual workloads. And with that in mind, I want to particularly thank the trustees who've carried out so much work in GIN's name, in addition to their own massive workloads. You know, it's been an incredible year, and yeah, thank you. I pay tribute to each and every one of you. For our next slide, I would like to pay special thanks to our outgoing trustees for their hard work and commitment to GIN. A huge thanks to both Craig Robbins and Ina Kopp, who are stepping down from the board at the end of this meeting. They have both served a maximum of three-year terms, so 9 years on the GIN board. You'll undoubtedly know them for their work in GIN as well as externally. But Ina has served as the GIN chair as well as vice chair on 2 separate occasions. Craig has been a keen member of the finance committee for a number of years. He has been involved with GIN strategy and led a strategy subcommittee a while back. He's been involved in the InGuide steering committee. Both of them have been conference hosts, Ina 2012 in Berlin and Craig in 2013 in San Francisco. So they have done a huge amount for GIN over the years. And I'm just scraping at the surface with a few things that I've said. So thank you both very, very much. I'm going to miss you and your inputs, but we will be in touch. You don't get away that easily. And next slide, please. A very special thank you to our outgoing chair, Gillian Lang. Jill will be remaining on the board, I'm pleased to say, but Jill has served for a record 3 years as the GIN chair and has been a wonderful chair, leading with compassion, humility, respect, humour and inclusiveness at all times. So thank you for your leadership, Jill. We'll all miss you, but we'll enjoy having you continue on the board as a normal trustee, if you will. So on to the results of the trustee elections. Thank you for everyone who has participated in the election process, whether that's been through nominating someone, being willing to stand as a trustee, particularly at this tough time, and also for voting. So we received 3 nominations for the organisational trustee places, and they were for Pablo Alonso, Lubna Al-Ansari and Murad Alam. No election was required because there were 3 people standing in 3 places. So I am pleased to confirm that all 3 will be trustees for the next 3-year term. Pablo is obviously continuing, and Lubna has served once before, and welcome back to Lubna. It's good to have you back. And we're very much looking forward to working with Murad as well. We also had individual trustee elections because there was 1 place available. We had 2 candidates, which meant that we had to hold an election. 28 people participated in the election, and it was very close. And in the end, Joseph Matthew will continue as the trustee going forward. Miranda, we thank you very much for standing, and we will look forward to see you standing again in the future. So thank you both. And this just gives you an overview of the participation levels. I think we can see that numbers of participants are reflected in just everything that is going on at the moment. So they're lower than normal in general. Thank you. So our new trustees, so that you recognise them all, put pictures on the screen. Pablo, Murad, Lubna and Joseph. So thank you all very much. It's great to have Pablo and Joseph remaining with us for their second term, and a very warm welcome to both Lubna and Murad. So finally, our Board of Trustees for 21-22 looks as on the screen, and I'm delighted to confirm that Zach has been selected to chair the board by the trustees, and Holger Schoenemann will be our vice chair this year. So welcome to both in your new roles. Duncan is the third member of the exec, and he has been co-opted by the board once again as treasurer. So delighted to have his very safe pair of hands guiding us in all things financial. And now on to the formal voting results. And I'm pleased to say that all of the formal business was approved by our organisational members. And I will hand over to Duncan Service, our treasurer, who will report on the finances for 20-21. Thank you, Duncan.
Thank you. I think that's me. Come off mute, so that always helps. Thanks. Welcome. Just for anybody who's not seen me before at one of these, I'm Duncan Service. I'm the treasurer for GIN, and when I'm not doing GIN stuff, I work for Sign in Scotland and the UK. So that's just a bit of background before we go on. So this is just an overview of the finances. As was seen on the last slide, the annual accounts were approved by the by the members, so they've been submitted to the to the Charities Commission in the UK, so that's all sorted. But I'm just going to go through some highlight slides just to highlight stuff, and certainly if people want to ask me questions, I'll sort of pause after the financial bit and then go on with some of the other bits. So there's a chance to answer questions, for me to answer questions if anybody has any that they want to pick up. And if I can't answer them now, then we'll deal with them by email offline. So that's me set my stall out. So let's get going. Could I have the next slide, please? So this is just a summary from our auditors. So basically there's nothing wrong with the way we've done the accounts. So they've all been produced properly. There's no issues with them. What we've written is reflected in what the financial figures are telling us, and obviously it's been done legally. So basically, in jargon, this is a clean audit, so there's no issues at all from the audit. So that just for your information, and you've also agreed to continue with Milne Craig, our auditors, for another year. So we've been quite happy with the advice they've given us over the last few years. So thanks for agreeing to continue them for another year. We could move on to the next slide, please. So this is just a summary, and for those of you who read the financial report that went with the accounts, this is just really lifted from there. But I just thought it was worth reminding you all it. So I'm not going to read this all out. It was just to say that the difference in the figures from last year and the year before were to do with the fact that we obviously had a conference in Adelaide, so there was a lot more income and expenditure. So that really explains why the figures are quite a bit less. So between the two, both income and expenditure, it's all to do with the running the conference. Just for anybody who picked up on that. And obviously, there's a slight decrease in the amount of funds carried forward from this year into next year as compared from 2019 into 2020. So that was that. And this is just another thing from the auditors to say that our accounts were produced correctly. If we could move on to this next slide, please. this is giving me a sense of peril, this next slide, please. But in the UK, we've been watching our politicians do this, all their briefings for COVID-19. So I'm feeling important. So we'll move on before it goes to my head. The next, this is just really a summary. So it's just to say that we have so within the last year, financial year that is, there's been a £3,000 decrease in the money that's carried over. From an auditing point of view, that wouldn't even appear on the as a figure because it's such a low percentage. It's just to say that I think, from a treasurer's point of view, given the fact we've had COVID-19 to deal with, I think that's a pretty good outcome. It's had no impact on the gin finances at all in a meaningful way. So we're in a good position going forward, and there's no risks with our sort of reserves or cash position for the year ahead. So that's it. I was just going to stop there in case anybody had any questions on the financial report, either what I've said or anything that they picked up from the annual accounts that they wanted an explanation of.
I noticed that somebody's hand's up, Amin Sharifan.
I think that was in reference to the Uniforum volunteer, so I've made a note of that.
Ah, okay, sure.
Right, thanks. Right, well, as I say, and if a question comes to you later, just email in. I'm happy to answer it. It's a bit of an artificial way of doing this, doing it all online, and you've obviously you all looked at the accounts already. But if there's something at the back of your mind that you want to ask, just email me. I'm happy to try and find an answer to anything if you pick up anything in the accounts that's not clear to you. So we'll move on. Thanks. To the next slide. So this is just the annual subscriptions. So these were also approved in the voting, and obviously there's a paper that went with it. But it was just to say that although there's, there isn't any sort of financial crisis that has made us put up the fees, I think it's just we have to be aware that inflation, that word that exists everywhere, affects gin the same as it affects everybody else. And we have been advised by our auditors to try and put our fees up by a small amount every year, just to keep up with inflation. So this is just to make sure that we can cover all our sort of costs for running gin without sort of having to rely on additional income, which can be a bit erratic, particularly as we've seen with COVID when we haven't been running a conference. So that's why we've put the fees up. It's not because there's any issue with our finances. It's just we were aware inflation is unfortunately back on the agenda, and it is pushing up some of our underlying costs. So that was that. Can we move on to the next slide, please? So these are just some summaries of what the sort of financial benefits that you might get from being a gin member. So obviously there's discounted conference registration, so lots of people taking advantage of that for this year. There's the sort of pre-course conference course registration as well, where there's discounts. We've talked about in-guide already in this in this presentation, but there's a discount for gym members on the fees. There's a referral discount, which I think we did talk about at one of our previous AGMs, but this is actually an example of it having come to pass. So Dr. Sami Al-Habib has managed to get the referral discount, and that's by encouraging organisational members to join Gin. And for anybody who's interested in that, there's more information on the Gin website and Gin Connect if you're looking for more of the details that go behind it. But thanks very much to Samuel for bringing on some organisational members. So thanks for that. Another thing is for organisational members, you do get a discount for COVID-ins as well. And there's complimentary access for organisational members to Dynamed Plus. And we've also got links for the Cochrane Library as well. So that was just a sort of summary of the financial benefits to members. We'll move on to more to what Gin are sort of invested in. So we've talked about in-guide training. So we've invested in the setting up the in-guide training. So that's a sort of multi-year investment. So if you looked at the annual accounts, you would notice that it's called out it's not a linear thing. So we've invested in that over a few years to help set it up, and it'll take a wee while for any sort of returns to come back from that, but that appears on a separate line in the annual accounts if you want to look at it. And then on to more straightforward things. So the LMIC working group grant has been given out. So we've half of it we've paid already, and there's more work going on that. And the other thing is the Gin Public working group grant, which is to do with the Gin Public toolkit, and we'll be coming back to that later on in the presentation. Just one more slide, and then I'll hand you back. So it was just to say that although it looks like we're holding a lot of cash in the on our balance sheet, there are a couple of financial commitments that we have. So obviously we have a conference in 2022 in Toronto, which is a physical conference, and we'll need cash for for the cash flow for paying bills and all the rest of it. The assumption is it'll break even and we'll get all that cash back. We need money in the bank to get the conference or to set up the conference, do all things with venues and that. There also, I suppose, is a risk that we may have to cancel, which may mean that we might not get all our costs back. So that's one of the reasons why we're sort of holding more money on the balance sheet than what might be prudent normally. And we also have a commitment to Global Evidence Summit 2 financially in Prague, so we're holding money for that as well. I wouldn't expect both of these things in the long term to have we're certainly not expecting both of these things to have a negative impact on the balance sheet going forward. It's just at this particular moment of cash flow, I think we need to hold the money in our accounts at the moment in case we need to use them to sort of fund any of these in the short term. But the expectation is both of these would break even on the information we have at the moment. Obviously, those of you who lived through COVID-19 like we all have, there is always a chance that something might go wrong, but we're assuming that these events will go ahead and that they'll break even. So there is money on the balance sheet just in case we need to underwrite them in any way. So that's the end of my presentation. I hope that was informative, and if anybody has any questions that hasn't been picked up during the presentation, feel free to email me offline. So thanks a lot.
I'm Gillian Lang, and I'm delighted to present the Najib Milka Cabana Award for 2021. The Najib Milka Cabana Award is GIN's most prestigious award. It's presented every year in memory of Dr. Milka Caban, who served on the GIN board between 2003 and 2010. She was formerly the deputy head of the guidelines department at the Haute Autorité de Santé, or HAS, the French National Authority for Health, which was one of GIN's founder members. And Najib was passionate about innovation and fostering international collaboration. Since 2017, organisational members have all had the opportunity to nominate a rising star, someone in their first 5 years of their guidelines career who's made a significant impression on the guidelines world. This could be in relation to innovation in the methodology, developments, or perhaps the implementation of health guidelines. And this year, I'm delighted to give congratulations to Malavika Tampi, who's won the award. Malavika was selected as the winner of the 2021 NMC Award, as her independent work in the field of dentistry was deemed absolutely exceptional by the committee, and it made her the top-ranking candidate from a very competitive field. Malavika Tampi is a managing methodologist for the ADA Science and Research Institute and oversees the development of evidence-based clinical practice guidelines. She's also adjunct faculty at the University of Michigan's School of Dentistry and will be working on projects related to health policy and translational research. She is an author of various publications in dentistry, and these include guidelines on the use of antibiotic prophylaxis for prosthetic joint patients antibiotic therapy for acute pain and intraoral swelling, non-restorative treatments for caries, and the evaluation of oral cancers. She's also a co-author of the ADA's upcoming systematic reviews and guidelines on acute dental pain management, caries prevention, which will be completed in 2021, restorative treatments for carious lesions to be completed in 2022, caries detection and diagnosis, which is going to be completed in 2023, and moderate sedation of adult dental patients to be completed in 2023. Malavika was also a lead methodologist on the ADA SRI's early 2020 guidance on reducing COVID-19 transmission risk in dental settings. And this was in collaboration with the Centers for Disease Control's Oral Health Group. And additionally, she's consulted with medical groups in the fields of vaccination and cardiovascular disease prevention. Her work includes not only the development of systematic reviews and clinical practice guidelines, but also the writing of textbooks, teaching clinicians and other methodologists the fundamentals of evidence-based research and practice, and extensive stakeholder and patient engagement. She has collaborated directly with international clinical and methods experts, the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, the CDC, the American College of Emergency Physicians, the Cochrane Collaboration, and the Pan American Health Organization.
My name is Malavika Tampi, and I'm delighted to accept the 2021 Najmamlake Cabana Innovation Award. Thank you to the Guidelines International Network's Board of Trustees and my mentor, Dr. Alonso Crasco-Labra, for nominating me for this award. This award is named after an incredible female pioneer in the field of guideline development. I am so grateful to be given this in her name. I work for the American Dental Association's Science and Research Institute as a guideline developer. We develop guidelines for dentistry. I work with an amazing team of guideline developers like me, and this award is shared with them. It would not be possible without their support and hard work. I also want to thank our collaborators from across the globe and all of the clinicians who support our work. Thank you. Again, I want to acknowledge the Guidelines International's Network's Board of Trustees, as well as the GIN membership. I'm so grateful to be part of a community that is dedicated in so many ways to the field of guideline development and bettering patient care across the globe. Thank you again, and have a wonderful day.
And now I'm going to hand over to Elaine Harrow, who's going to present some awards to recognise long-term GIN members.
Thank you, Jill. At this point, I've got to admit to feeling a little sad. Once again, we can't meet in person, shake hands, obviously after sanitising, and then chat at the conference welcome reception as we would normally be doing directly after the AGM. However, that doesn't detract from wanting to recognise some members who have been with us a long time and have been very loyal to GIN. This year, we'd like to recognise 2 organisations that have been with us for 15 years, 3 that have been with us for 10, and 1 individual who's been a GIN member for 15 years. So these organisations are, as you can see on the screen, the INES, or Institut National d'Excellence en Santé et en Services Sociaux in Quebec in Canada. Our next one is to the Danish Health Authority. I know that we have Maria Arnfeldt on the call today, so congratulations. Many of you will know Maria. She has been a very active GIN member for many a year and is currently the chair of GIN Nordic. So congratulations to your whole organisation. Thank you. For 10 years, we would like to recognise the American Psychological Association. And I know that we've got Raquel Halfond from Washington on the call. So again, thank you very much for your loyalty and your participation in GIN. and also the amount that you do in GIN North America, Referral. We also have the Kennis Institute van de Federatie van Medisch Specialisten. I hope I'm not getting them too badly wrong, but also known as the Federation of Medical Specialists, who are based in Utrecht in the Netherlands. And what some of you may not know is that Jos van Barneveld was a member of GIN's founding committee and was on the first board of trustees. So thank you and congratulations to the Federation. And finally, we would also like to recognise one individual member who has contributed a lot to GIN for 15 years, and that's Jos Kleinen. I'm sure Jos is very well known to many of you, and he was actually the chair of our scientific committee back in 2017 in Amsterdam. So up next, before our new chair, Zach Munn, talks about our priorities for the year ahead, I'd like to take you to something very current and exciting in the culmination of over a year's work. And this is the launch of the newly online GIN Public Toolkit. Over the past year, the GIN Public Working Group, under the leadership of Jane Cowell and Cam Graham from NICE and SIGN, respectively, have completed a significant project of reviewing and updating each chapter of the 2015 toolkit. As each section has been rewritten, it was passed to an editor to finalise before it was passed on to us to upload to the website. Each new chapter has been added to the resources section upon completion, and I'm sure that many of you have followed the progress as in the new chapters have been announced on Twitter and GIN Connect, as well as any newsletters. But today, the GIN Public Toolkit in its digital version has gone live on the website. So you can pass us to our next slide, please, Alice. So the original sections, PDFs, are within resources, as I mentioned, and there is also a link to the full toolkit, full digital toolkit in there. And next slide, please. So from the, sorry, next again, thank you. So from the home page, you can click through into the various chapters, and it has been organised into sections. So you have a consultation, participation, communication, and a beyond guidelines section, which covers patient involvement in HTAs. By clicking on the chapters, so the icons that you can see there, you'll be taken to the next level. So, next slide, please. So within each section, you'll find pop out key messages, top tips, and resources, a quote related to each chapter, then specific topics to click through to more information. So hats off to the whole team, as well as our designers and developer who've worked together to pull this off. It has been a huge project, but it has been really, really exciting to see this come together and to see it come to life in the way that it's now presented. So Jane, thank you very much. I know you're on the call. Thank you for taking the time and for your leadership throughout this. So I would encourage everybody to take a look around, go to the website, and don't hesitate to give us any feedback that you might have. So thank you. So next, coming soon, and this is just a heads up for those of you who are on the call today, the GIN board has agreed to support financial support for in-guide trainers. We will be, in the near future, we'll be seeking experienced trainers to become licensed trainers of in-guide. There will be strict criteria put in place, and numbers will be limited per region, but the vision is to have trained in-guide trainers attached to our regional communities and also in Central Europe, so that we will be more responsive to delivering the training as soon as we can deliver it in person once again, which we look forward to. So the details for this are being worked on just now and will be announced later this year. And now that's all from me, and I would like to hand over to our new chair, Zach, to highlight the priorities for the year ahead. Thank you.
Fantastic, thank you, Elaine. Can I just confirm you can see my slides?
We can, thank you.
Great, thank you, Elaine. And thank you for that introduction. And thank you also. Yes, my name's Zach Munn, and I'm privileged and really humbled to be succeeding Jill as the new chair of GIN for 2021 to 2022. And I must say, I must add my thanks to Elaine's to Jill, who has been a very steady hand during troubled waters over the last few years and has led GIN really with great intellect, diplomacy and a clear vision. So we really thank her for her work. And she certainly left some big shoes for me to fill. So really looking forward to the challenge and the task and taking on the role of the GIN chair. I'd also like to thank all of the GIN members for your support. I know many of you on the call today, but there are some of you who I don't know, and I do hope I get to have a chance to meet many of you over the next 12 months. And please do know that myself and the board, we are here to support you and our members, and would always love to hear from you with any feedback, advice or suggestions you have, or even just to connect. We are a network, so it's great to reach out and connect. So really looking forward to working with you all and working with the GIN board and the executive team over the next 12 months. Okay, so as you can see, it's been a very busy 12 months and a lot has been achieved, and we're going to keep building on this over the next 12 months, and we have some exciting things to tell you about that we are currently working on, which I'll get into just now. So it's already been highlighted that the second World Evidence-Based Healthcare Day is coming soon. So want to flag that this is coming up, and this is, as Jill mentioned, it's a partnership between GIN, Campbell, JBI, Cochrane, the Centre for Evidence-Based Healthcare, the Institute for Evidence-Based Healthcare, and NICE. And it's a great day to celebrate and raise awareness of a need for evidence-based healthcare. And in this day and age of misinformation and pseudoscience and everything else, I don't think this day has ever been more needed. On the actual day itself, there are going to be a lot of events happening. There's going to be webinars, there's going to be online panels, there's going to be a lot happening on social media from all of the various organisations, debates, etc. as well. And really, it's an opportunity for everyone who is working in the field of evidence-based healthcare, guideline development, in guideline implementation, systematic reviews and everything else. It's really a chance to showcase your work and obviously also showcase the work of GIN as well. There are many ways to be involved in this day, and I would encourage you all to go to the website to find out how you can get involved, be engaged, and to support the day as well. So the website is worldebhcday.org. And once again, GIN is very proud to partner with these other groups for this very exciting day. And on the heels of the World Evidence-Based Healthcare Day, we have our annual GIN conference, our 16th annual conference. And this year it is taking place fully online, and it's going to be a fully interactive online virtual event. So this is no mere Zoom call or Zoom webinar. We are really trying to replicate that face-to-face experience and opportunity, networking opportunity and engagement that you do get in a in-person conference, and try to replicate this online. So it's certainly, we're using a very interesting online platform which allows people to interact and share, and it really is a fully interactive online event. So we do hope to see many of you there, and I can see that we've got a poll going on right now to see if people have registered and will be coming along. So that's great. Thank you for filling that out. The scientific committee have been working really hard as well on the theme for the conference, which is Future Forward, Relevant, Implementable and Sustainable Guidelines. And they have been working really hard and have got a fantastic lineup of speakers who will be presenting at the conference. And I've had a sneak peek at some of the oral sessions as well, and I know that there's going to be a lot of great presentations during the conference, and once again, chances to engage and interact. So would really, really love to see you all there, and hope you will be able to join us for that fully online interactive conference, which is coming up on the 25th to the 27th of October. Okay, it looks like we've got quite a few people who have participated in the poll, although not a huge amount. Did you want to share those results? Okay, so it looks like we've got 60% of people who will be coming along to the conference, so that's good. Hopefully we'll be able to get a few more people coming along as well. There's obviously still a lot of time to register for the conference as well. It is obviously, we've tried to make it at a time which is going to suit most of the world, and be somewhat flexible with the time zones as well. And in terms of the actual cost, it is quite affordable, being a fully online conference. We've been able to keep costs down, so hopefully many of you will be able to come, and obviously you can find out all the details about the conference on our website as well. So I hope to see you all there. Now, in addition, we're also continuing to develop and enhance the new Gin Library, which is almost 2 years old now, I think. And we expect that over the next 12 months, this library will continue to grow in terms of the actual content that's available on the library, and the amount of users who are using it, accessing it, and contributing to it as well. It's been great to actually get some feedback from our users of the system over the last 12 months. And based on this feedback, we've made quite a few quality of life improvements as well, to make it easier to access the content, to upload your content, and to do your searching and exporting as well. So we really value all this feedback that you do provide to us. For those of you who are using the library, we really do and would like to continue to receive your feedback. And as it was mentioned earlier in this AGM, we actually do have a user forum, which you might like to join. If you do use the library, we would love you to join that forum, and to continue to give us that feedback as we continue to make it as useful as possible for all of you, for all of our members, which is what we're trying to do, of course. And I must also add my thanks to Sarah Twaddle, who really leads the charge for this library and does an enormous amount of work, making sure it's in tip-top shape, and also supporting all of our users. So a huge thank you to Sarah, who really drives this library. And I can see we've got a couple of polls going on as well, about uploading the guidelines to the library. And we're also obviously trying to collect a little bit of feedback from you all during this AGM as well. So these Zoom polls are quite useful. So thank you all for filling those out. Okay, great. Very good. So it looks like a few of you, what have we got? 11% upload guidelines to the library, but also some good feedback there on why it's about some of the barriers to uploading. So that's really useful. Thank you all. Okay. All right, we'll move on. Now, looking forward to next year now in 2022, I'm very pleased to say that the conference in Toronto is still going to go ahead. It has been postponed, obviously, from 2020, but it has now been rescheduled to the 21st to 24th of September in 2022. And we're really pleased that the local hosts were still able to put on this conference for us after it had to be postponed for obvious reasons. It's planned to take place in person at the fantastic Western Harbour Castle Hotel in Toronto. And the local hosts, McMaster University, who I'm sure need very little introduction, but the birthplace of evidence-based medicine, and of course, one of the key leaders and thinkers in guideline development and methods. So I can't wait actually to head along, and I'm sure it's going to be an incredibly exciting program. The theme at the moment is making health choices transparent, equitable, efficient, and efficient. And the scientific committee is being led by incoming Vice Chair Holger Schulman. I know that he will be putting together a fantastic program along with the rest of the scientific committee. And the conference committee is being overseen by Duncan Service as well. So we're running some polls now on the conference just to get a bit of feedback from you all. So thank you for filling those out. This will help us obviously in our planning going forward with what we will consider to do with our conferences in the future. But really hoping that we will be able to see a lot of you in Toronto in 2022. It'll be so nice to actually see each other in person again, if that's possible. So that's really, really exciting. And thank you for filling out these polls now as well. So we've just got this second poll about how often you would like to attend a GIN conference. It looks like the majority of people would like to attend the conference annually, some every 2 years, and oh, sorry, you can't actually see these results, I don't think. Some every 2 years, and some only a minority don't actually attend the conference. So thank you once again. So really looking forward to that, and there'll be a lot more information about the conference, obviously, in the future. Now, maybe not as exciting, but still very important, is that over the next 12 months, we are looking at governance here at GIN, and we're also looking at updating the Articles of Association. The plan is to update these so that they are in plain English, and to update them to reflect the times that we live in, and to also make sure that they are more easily understandable. Now, obviously, this is these articles underpin everything we do at GIN and the way we operate. So we'll be making sure that we engage and get feedback from all of our members in this project. And obviously, it will all need to be approved by the membership as well. And the plan at this stage is to work on these over the next 12 months and engage and get feedback from our members. And before we launch the new articles or updated articles at the AGM next year. So watch this space and we will be in touch. And moving beyond 2022 now, we're also really pleased to say that although we weren't able to have the Global Evidence Summit as planned, it will now be taking place in October 2023 on the 2nd to the 6th of October. Which is fantastic, and the local hosts are remaining the same. So the Czech National Centre for Evidence-Based Healthcare and Knowledge Translation, hosted at Masaryk University with Miroslav Kluger and others, are still going to be the local host, which is fantastic. And for anyone who was able to attend the last Global Evidence Summit, I'm sure you found it a riveting event, just like I did, and we're really looking forward to once again partner with some cognate groups and host the Global Evidence Summit in 2023. And obviously more information will come out over the next 12 to 18 months about the Global Evidence Summit, but please do put these dates in your diary now, because it will be an event not to be missed. And the final thing that's really a priority for GIN, and what we're really excited about as well, and we've talked a little bit about it already at this AGM, but the in-guide program will continue on, obviously, over the next 12 months, and continue growing and going from new heights to new heights. I was lucky enough to actually sit in on one of the in-guide sessions just the other day, and I can tell you that it really is a very thought-provoking and engaging program, and some really good content, and it really does equip guideline developers and panels with the knowledge and skills they need to progress with their guideline work. So I can't recommend the program highly enough. So I do strongly suggest you all have a look and let your colleagues and collaborators know about it as well. And as mentioned, we level 3 is planned to be launched in November. Okay, and you can always check out the in-guide website as well for further details. So we've got a lot planned over the next 12 months. It's a really exciting time. Really looking forward to working with the new board and working with you all and getting your feedback and advice and suggestions over the next 12 months, and really looking forward to connect with you all as well. And the other thing I'd really strongly encourage you to use is the Gin Connect as well, which is, I think it's been fantastic to actually start to interact online as well. But that's all I wanted to flag and highlight for the next 12 months. And I believe, Elaine, this brings us to the final slide of the AGM. Elaine, and I might hand back over to you.
Yeah, thank you very much, Zach. And thank you, Duncan, and also Jill for presenting. So we've had no other business notified, but we still have some time left. And I think we should open it up to find out if there's any questions. Perhaps by raising a hand might be the easiest way. Hope we have one hand raised. Just trying to find that. Okay, we have, oh, one's gone down, I think. Sandy Lewis, I think your hand is still up.
Hi, thanks. Can you hear me?
We can. Thanks, Sandy.
Okay,
hello, nice to see you.
Great.
Hear
Nice
you.
to, yeah, nice to hear from all of you as well, and see some of you. So GIN is an excellent organization. I've been a member of this organization since 2007 and reaped a number of benefits over the years. What I would love to see happen going forward, now that I'm an individual member and not an organizational member, is to see more benefits for individual members, more outreach to individual members, more opportunities for individual members to participate, to gain from the activities and knowledge in ways that are more than just sitting in on webinars or attending conferences, but actually being able to participate. And there are a number of places where I feel there's been an effort to encourage organizational memberships to the detriment of individual memberships. Whether that process works or not, I don't know. I'd love to know. But also, I think there are more people doing consulting and individual activities and could play an important role in the organization, in the activities, participate in work groups, in projects and so forth. And there just needs to be a greater emphasis, I think, on reaching out to these individuals and making them feel that they can join and can participate and be part of this overall effort that we've been involved in.
Okay, thanks for that, Sandy. There's obviously nothing stopping individuals joining working groups, regional communities, any that are new or any communications that go out from any of the working groups or communities seeking people to collaborate or answer surveys or any kind of input. That goes to all of our members, not just organisations. So there's certainly no barriers there. Obviously, there's the obvious barrier around who you can vote for, which category of trustee, but I don't think that's an issue. Individuals can vote for the individual trustee.
Well,
okay,
there's just some restrictions like participation in the library. I cannot upload my clients' guidelines in the library, for example. There's a lot of things that I can't do, even though I'm an individual member and I pay my dues. There's restrictions. I think there's just things that we can talk through, other ideas that I have as well. We don't need to take the time today, but I'd love to participate in an effort to identify where we might be able to recruit more individual members and how we can do that.
Okay, thank you. Certainly got a note of that. Okay, there's no other hands raised. I'm just having a quick look in the chat. There's quite a lot of good ideas coming in around conferences, certainly. What's that?
One more hand raised. Go for it. Unmuted you.
Can you maybe say your name, TDA? Let us know who you are, please.
Sorry, this is Anthony, normally.
Hello, Anthony. Welcome.
Yeah, thank you so much, and thank you for this exciting meeting today. Going forward, I think there are a lot of things that we will be doing, and part of the low and middle income countries working group. And then I think sometimes we do some discussions and share ideas. And I'm particularly interested in the in-guide program, because that is what is actually going to build capacity, and my area has always been capacity building. And can you throw a little bit of light onto members who have some expertise and want to train as trainers rather than training as maybe becoming trainees, but coming to train as trainers? And can you give me a bit of, since we have a bit of time, that is why I'm asking, otherwise I wouldn't have, but can you just shed a bit of light on it for us?
Okay. Well, anybody who wants to train as a trainer, which would effectively be level 4 of the in-guide programme, would go through each of the other 3 levels first, so that they're totally familiar and obviously trained according to the in-guide programme. There will be various criteria being worked up, so things that we want people to do, and we don't yet know, for instance, how many sessions we would want you to deliver in a certain time period, but we would be looking for commitment to be able to deliver the programme in your area. This also addresses some of the points that we've seen in the chat related to the conference, but what we're trying to avoid is people flying from A to B to deliver training once it happens online, is to be able to deliver it in their own area. I don't know if that answers all of your questions or if there's anything more specific that you're looking for.
I think that what you've given me is good enough. I think this is the starting point, so I know how to build on it. At least I know it starts from level 4. So I will have to go through the program to know what it takes to complete the first sections and whether one can jump and start from level 4 straight away, and there are prerequisites that would require people to go through all the processes before they get to level 4. So, and then if the person has an experience already, how does the person, that is the time wasting is what we are talking about. We know that not to waste too much time. How can we maybe have some criteria to just check that the person can start from level 4 instead of maybe going through all those. That is what I think I'll be interested to know. And after that, when they have trained, I think it goes with something like payments, isn't it? It's not free, isn't it? A training. And let me pause over here and answer me before I move on. Is the training free?
No. Well, let me clarify that. For the people who we want to support to become trainers, yes, we will sponsor you through that. Jin will provide that training.
Okay. The question, you've answered my question, because there was at a point I saw when you were answering my question, it looks as if there was a dichotomy, but that was not so clear to me. There are some people who want to train to maybe do their own things, but there are some people who will be trained by Jane to be ambassadors of Jane, isn't it? And those are the ones that would probably Jane is likely to support. But if other people will have the interest to train themselves to do maybe their own thing, they're also allowed to do that, isn't it?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, so if you're an individual going through the training, you would go through your levels 1, 2 and 3 and then do the train the trainer programme specifically to deliver in guide. Once you complete all of that, there would be a licensing agreement which would allow you to deliver the training on behalf of the in guide programme.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, if you could drop your name and email address and where you're from into the chat, that would be great. Thanks.
Okay, I'll do that.
Thank you. Okay, do we have anything else? Anybody else want to jump in? A quick look at the chat. Okay, there's some information or some comments coming in about the Gin Library, and I think I should clarify that non-members can put their guidelines in the Gin Library. They can't physically do it themselves. They need to get in touch with us, and that it would be done for them as a service, and there is a charge for that. But we certainly don't exclude non-GIN member guidelines. So just to be absolutely clear on that. Okay, well, I think if that's everything, it's probably about time that we can wrap up and allow our Australian and Asian colleagues to get to bed. Thank you very, very much for joining us, particularly when it's very late. Thank you, Zach, your first ever meeting and as chair. It's not at an ideal time for you, but thank you very much. And thank you to everyone. Thanks for coming. We very much appreciate it.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.